What is up? Happy Monday. It is the recap lunch hour at 3 p.m. because that's the kind of day it has been. We anticipated that a little bit here at the recap and just overall in Chicago. Look at him. There he is. The Cap man himself.
What's up?
Cap, fresh off of a holiday weekend. We decided, we were like, should we do the recap rush hour or lunch hour? See, we're almost into rush hour. Should we not do it? Should we do it? And we decided, look, man, did it on Thanksgiving, give the people what they want. And here we are. And the weekend is over and the Bears have officially, let's recap the last 72 to 96 hours. The Bears lose a game they should have won. Again, stop us if you've heard that before. In the most Bears way possible, Matt Eberflus goes home with the timeout in his pocket. Less than 24 hours later, meets the media. 2 hours after that is fired. Thomas Brown promoted. Thomas Brown gets on a plane at 4 p.m., goes home for the weekend. Home meaning out of Chicago. And today at Halas Hall, you were told it early this morning after promoting that he'd be on your radio show, that's not happening, that Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren were going to meet the media at 11:45, and they did. And it was less than impressive. Less than impressive. Clyde is really worried, by the way. I'm going to get this off. Clyde is very worried that you'll never respond to him, so I'm getting this out there now that you are here to respond. And Clyde, we will get you, buddy. We will get you. All right, Cap.
We'll get to you, Clyde.
We will get to you, bud. Look, I don't know. For those of you that haven't heard it, we'll give you a quick summation. It was about 20 minutes long. It was, yes, they did take questions. There were opening statements by both Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles. Kevin Warren's was, I want to say, not more prepared, but it was much more scripted.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't take a lot of questions.
They did not.
They didn't open up on a lot about what the next candidates must look like this. They were very focused on, we have 5 games.
Well, Ryan said, we're not going to talk about the search here. He was not. He said,
why?
We've got 5 games left and we're going to focus on that.
Then don't do the press conference. Like, seriously, I mean, you fired your head coach. An entire weekend went by. You didn't address it other than a statement, which was really pretty much written by Kevin Warren, saying, "Here, we really do have a GM. He really is the GM. We stand by this decision." He, again, Kevin Warren today, had to go out and say, Ryan Poles is our GM and he will be staying here. But Ryan Poles did not look like a very comfortable GM sitting at that podium today.
No, you reminded me of Rick Hahn at the Tony La Russa press conference.
Wow, that's a big statement. So the La Russa, that was a Zoom, and Rick, Rick has said he's felt like he was held hostage that day.
He was at a hostage
press conference.
And I don't think Poles looked maybe that dramatic. He did not look like he was in a good place because, I've done a lot of reporting on this. I heard that he wanted to fire Eberflus after the Patriots game, denied by George McCaskey and company. And I was also told by somebody who was intimately involved in the coaching search 3 years ago, in 2022, or almost 3 years ago, that it was an arranged marriage.
Yeah, I want to get into that in a second. Pablo, this morning, going back to a line used by Dan Quinn, or what we heard about Dan Quinn, where they flew him in coach in the middle seat in the back of the plane. Pablo wants to give you a shout out. Pablo, a big fan of the program. And look, I had a buddy interviewing for that job. I don't think it's all that, much of breaking news at this point.
For the GM.
For the GM job. And, he did not like the way things were being done. I mean, there were people I know that were in the room that were not interviewing for that job. I'll put it that way too, that were like, how is a guy coming in here interviewing for a job when there's head coaches that have already been interviewed? I agree with the arranged marriage part. I definitely agree. The question is, was Matt Eberflus ever truly Ryan Poles' hire? We don't know.
I don't believe it.
Okay, you don't believe it. Ryan Poles, was he ever allowed to truly fire Matt Eberflus?
I don't believe that either.
Because I'll be honest with you, after thinking about what's happened over the weekend, why in the hell would you not fire him after the end of last year? I know that there were progressive steps in the back end of last season. There were also a couple big steps backwards. The 2 or 3 games, was it 3 games they lost with a 90% win probability last year? 3, right?
They lost to Denver.
And Detroit.
The Detroit game, and there was Cleveland.
That was 2 years ago, right?
That was last year.
3 games where they had a 95% win probability that they lost.
And then this year, Washington.
Well, this year's a complete. This year by itself is if you were ever if I were creating a college course, I would submit this to any college, Northwestern University, Northern Illinois, place I could drive to. Like, hey, I will come in as an adjunct professor.
Yes.
And teach a class called Organizational Dysfunction. And the entire syllabus will be revolved around the 2024 Bears.
Yes.
Like that will be the class. Organizational dysfunction and how not to do it, how to do it, and how to make sure you don't ever get involved in something like that again. And I kind of felt like that today. Yes, they said, here's what I still scratch my head, Cap. Think about how they fired Eberflus. On Friday, you and I are texting at 8 a.m. Like, is this guy going to take the podium? I don't know. Yes, we're being told. No, we're not. 9:02. You guys take it live on your show. He's sitting there going, I'm preparing to coach San Francisco. Yes, I am coaching San Francisco. Boom. You go get a haircut. I'm off with family doing stuff. In 90 minutes.
Bald guys do get their beard in their head.
From the best place on earth, because he's got me going there too.
Yep. Michael's in Skokie.
The best. Jess, welcome back. I missed you over the weekend, Jess. We missed you on Thanksgiving. I'm glad you're here. Maybe I'm still scared of the Flu's hits principles, but I did not like the sound of Brown's 3 abilities. No more catchy saying in Chicago. Get the job done and win. Amen. We're going to table Thomas Brown for a second. I'm going to table Thomas Brown for a second because we're going to talk about him in a second. The how Kevin Warren described how Friday went down to me still makes no sense. So he's asked about how did Friday happen? Well, at that point, we didn't sleep well, but it's always good to get a good night's sleep. We had not made the decision yet at the time of the Zoom. Then you postpone it.
Yeah,
move it back.
First of all, I don't believe he's being 100% truthful.
Well, he was sitting there telling we're family and we care for each other and we look out for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know that there were people around that team, and I'm not talking about media people, that said, Kevin Warren said, we'll take care of this. We'll get it fixed. And intimating that was going to be all for Flus. And the way that Jalen Johnson, went off in the locker room, and deservedly so, everyone went, that'll be all for Matt Eberflus. And guess what? Friday morning, you allow him to do a Zoom? I don't understand that. I still don't understand how you allow him to walk out there.
And the only reason that they did that, literally the only reason, the normal routine after a game is 9 a.m. Zoom availability. You know what? You're not even playing on a normal day of the week. You're playing on a Thanksgiving holiday. Abnormal. You don't do it every year.
Agreed.
It's Black Friday, right? It's technically a holiday. So you move that. Move the Zoom to noon. Just say Zoom availability at noon. Fire him at 11 and either make your GM available or just say Zoom's canceled. It's not like it's some Zoom that the entire world can even listen on. It's for the local media.
Agreed.
Just say 11 a.m. He's fired. No Zoom today. Well, here's our statement. We'll address it after the weekend. Thomas Brown's in charge. Okay. Like no one's making a question then. If you would have come out and just said on Friday, the Zoom's at noon, leave people to speculate. But to say, well, we didn't want people to think something big was happening. It was. You were firing your head coach. And Ryan,
it's truly unbelievable.
Yeah, let's get to some of these comments. Yeah, Steven thinks it sounds like Pole's not in charge. Chris said he looks like he got a detention. Clyde, we will see. Will Mike Vrabel be available after the season? Yes. Does Ben Johnson want this job? And hopefully they keep Thomas Brown. There's a lot to unpack there. Okay, so yes on Mike Vrabel, he's available. Ben Johnson, will he want the job, Cap?
They would have to come correct, is what I was told. Come correct means you better have all your processes in place. You better convince him why he should take a job where the GM that would be hiring him is a guy toward the end of his contract, but yet Ben's coming in on what we would believe to be a 5-year deal. So hold on a second. I'm taking a job hired by him. He gets fired, and now we have the same circle of craziness, this cycle of, well, here's the new GM, here's your head coach.
Could you see a situation where there's new paper for polls? Because I think so.
Yes. If you're going to let him do the search and hire an expensive head coach, you have to extend him so they're on the same timeline.
They did that with Pace, didn't they, with Nagy? So and people might not like that, but if you want to get a head coach that has names like Ben Johnson, who's going to have his pick of wherever he wants to go. He'll be the first on everybody's list. Well, I doubt he goes to New York. I doubt he's like, I don't want to go to. He wants to go to Schefter said it a few weeks ago. What he doesn't want is organizational dysfunction.
Correct.
Yet we're teaching a course here in Chicago. And then the Thomas Brown situation. Let's talk Thomas Brown real quick, because this goes back to Jess saying she didn't like the 3 abilities. He's good. He wins the microphone. But
He's
folks,
good at it.
Short of maybe going 5-0, and even there, I have a lot of concern. This is definitely audition for Thomas Brown. But can we, Clyde's like, can we hopefully, what exactly has Thomas Brown equated any wins right now?
None.
Oh, okay. Thought so. So they've scored 20 points, 19 points. What's the other game? Those are the 2 games, right? He's been an OC for 2 games?
No, he was the OC for the 19-point Green Bay.
Oh, the Green Bay.
The Minnesota 27-point and the 20-point in Detroit.
Now, keep in mind, they went into the 4th quarter of the Minnesota game. They were down 27-13.
They were down 24-10.
24-10 heading into the 4th. First half of the Detroit game was maybe their worst half of football all year.
16-0.
Maybe their worst half of football all year. So 16-0 at the half, 10 points heading into the 4th, and 19. Tell me exactly what. Yes, Caleb does look better. Caleb put on a show. A lot of the stuff that has made Caleb good has been freelance.
And off book.
Yeah.
Correct.
So yes, he's gotten rid of the ball quicker. I think keep it simple, stupid. Maybe not from a play call sheet, maybe just from a 1-2-3 throw, 1-2-3, see the field, make the read, make the run. I think Thomas Brown has definitely commands respect in the room. We've heard that, you and I. But to sit around, guys, this 4 weeks ago, most of you asking for Thomas Brown did not know he was on the staff. I'm just being honest.
Just so we're clear, when he was promoted to the offensive coordinator and at the rate he's at 19 days ago or 21 days ago, he was named the offensive coordinator.
Yep.
And I think it's 20 days. Offensive coordinator. Now he's the interim head coach. By January, he should have the stadium finished in Arlington Heights. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I like him.
Me too.
But let's be fair here. When he got promoted, they asked Caleb, what's your relationship like with Thomas Brown after Waldron got fired? He said, I don't really interact with him much, is the passing game coordinator, which I find curious. He said, my interactions were with Shane.
Okay, let me ask you this question. So this was brought up today in the press conference. When he finds out on Friday he gets the job, what does he ask to do?
Well, in my world, and again, like you, I'm a bit of a freak. I'm in our office on Sundays because there's work to be done, things to be recorded. He flew home for the weekend. Now, I'm not denigrating his time with his family.
Agreed.
Please don't take it that way.
Agreed.
But if they named me the head coach of the Chicago Bears, honey, look, I got a little bump in pay. I'm sure he did. Get a flight. Come up here. I cannot leave. I've got to work all weekend.
I mean, this is
right.
It's an audition, Cap. Like maybe not for this job and for other ones that are going to be available. But I'm just being honest. 5-6 weeks ago, all the people who I love, you didn't know Thomas Brown existed on the staff.
Correct.
Clyde, we just had your comment up. We appreciate you subscribing.
Appreciate you, Clyde.
Your comments about Chicago sports will
Despite
definitely.
what he says, I got your back, Clyde.
Clyde, that's a joke for you, my man. Polls look like he just got scolded in middle school of the 1950s. Jess says Polls looked very defeated at the presser. If he is offered a position at New York or elsewhere, does he take it? He's under contract, Jess. Unless he's fired, which Kevin Warren came
out today and said he is our general manager and he will be leading the search.
So let's see. Tyler, Polls look very standoffish. He didn't look like he wanted to be involved or told not to be involved. I don't know about standoffish as much as I agree that.
Yeah, I disagree with Tyler about standoffish.
But the other part I do agree with.
To me to just be exhausted, pissed off, and knows we had a chance with this schedule to be a playoff team in year 3. And instead, they're 4-8. And if you had a decent head coach, you would have probably won the Colts game. You absolutely would have won the Commanders game. You absolutely are going to win the Green Bay game.
And the Detroit game. So let's give them 3.
Give them 3 more wins.
And we're
the Colts, Washington.
Well, I'm gonna keep the Colts as a loss. I'm gonna keep the Vikings as a loss.
Okay. So you win Green Bay, Detroit, and
Green Bay, Detroit,
and Washington.
In Washington.
Okay, that's
seven.
3.
You're 7.
Take any 3 of the 5.
So,
and if you don't lose Washington,
you're 7-5.
Are you that flat in Arizona
Great
and
point.
at home against New England?
Probably
we'll
not.
Just give you 3 more wins.
We're going to count those other 2 as 100% losses because they got steamrolled. They were flat. They looked like they weren't interested in playing. Those are 2 L's. We're not changing the results of those
Correct.
2 games.
So you're at 7-5.
You're in the playoff
team.
Yep. And that includes still losing the game in overtime to Minnesota, which it did come down to the final play, yes, but the Bears went 3 and out in overtime and Minnesota went right down the field. That's not a blocked field goal. That's not a Hail Mary. That's not a coach sitting there looking lost with a timeout in his pocket.
Correct.
In the Indianapolis game, because it was early in the year, we're just going to count that as chalk it as an L because you could have easily lost the Tennessee game. So, like, for all the people saying, well, the Colts should have been a win, you can argue the Tennessee Titans should have been a loss.
That's correct.
So I'll cancel those 2 out. There's zero excuse. None. Literally no situation that you can come up with to me, except for the 3 ways they lost those other games, to tell me they shouldn't be 7-5. None.
Right. So if you're 7-5, all of a sudden you're like, wow, can the Bears get to 10 wins here in the final 5 games?
Yes.
Maybe.
Well, yeah. And like it's about
you're
timing.
Playing with purpose.
Yes.
You're not just going through.
What's crazy is Matt Eberflus is a timeout away from still having the job right now.
Correct.
Because if they kick the field goal and lose in overtime, or if they call timeout and get the touchdown and win, he's not getting fired. If they kick the field goal and go to overtime, he does not get fired.
Well, I think the end of the season was the Washington game.
Well, yeah, me too.
Washington game,
but
killed him.
he keeps his job through the end of the year with calling the timeout on Thursday.
Correct, but they still would be, even if they won that game, instead of 4-8, they're 5-7.
Yep,
they're not. No, they'd be 5-7.
Yeah.
So,
Jason says that you reported that the Bears would not let Poles fire Eberflus after the New England game. Why would ownership say no then and yes now?
Because they lost. The locker room was chaotic. And this is 100% sourced. After the game on Thursday, Eberflus comes in and, men, we got to stick together and go through the adversity, right? And Jalen Johnson had enough. And for like 15 minutes, like not a minute, like
cooked him up.
15 minutes, lit him up in front of the team with some very colorful language until Bears personnel ushered Eberflus out of the locker room.
You got to remember, though, these windows, they're not even windows in the NFL. We know how much parity can happen. I mean, 2 years ago, Jacksonville was a Final Four team in the AFC, right? And now they're on pace for the number 1 pick and complete blow up and chaos. These things, you ride those waves. Think about the 2001 Bears. Dick Duran had no business getting a contract extension until that team won a couple of fluky overtime games and wrote it into a 13-3 season.
13-3, and he got paid. And Jerry Angelo, I remember back in the day, went, I was making a coaching change.
Yeah, but that's not how and that's what's so frustrating. We recorded, and it's why we're on later today. I was up at Halas Hall with Kevin Byard. He sat down with DeAndre Swift. That'll be up later on the channel. They talk about DeAndre's background, but they do get into the change of coaches and what Thomas Brown has brought to the offense. We just taped a new episode of the Big Dog Show with Tremaine Edmonds
and Mercedes
Lewis. And there's definitely stuff in there talking about what's to come. They're frustrated that they had to make a coaching change, but they know it's necessary, guys. The real Phil Simms, Cap, as I like to call him.
That's it.
That was horrible by the Bears. You had to know that he was already gone. Bad look. 100% agree. Who gives a shit that they let Flus give that last press conference? Enough about it already. Hey, fam, you're just a guy who doesn't understand.
So wrong.
Yeah. Let me ask you, if you were a boss of your company and you were going to fire your employee that day, you knew he was going to be gone, would you let him in the building from 9 to noon and fire him at lunch? The answer is absolutely not. And that's what they did. Yeah. You would not fire it. Yeah. If you knew you woke up.
Let me just tell you this. People around the league are laughing at the Bears. And that can come back and haunt you when you go after coaching candidates. Not just the head coach. Guess what? We want to put a staff together.
Yeah,
read it. Coming there.
Nope. And that's been reported. It's been check out Adam Johns. He had details of the locker room fallout on Thursday in the Athletic. And then he tweeted this morning that the league is, like Cap said, laughing at the Bears. And most importantly, guys like Ben Johnson are keeping an eye on that stuff.
And the other thing is, you don't think players watch that and say, I'm not going to Chicago. That thing's a train wreck in there.
Yep. The good thing is it sounds like these players are sticking together And not that people want to hear, hey, it's a good clubhouse or good locker room when you go 6-11 or something like that. But this thing could have gone off the rails big time if the culture in the locker room was bad. There's bad culture issues there, but I don't think it's so player inflicted that you have to clean all of that up too. I don't. Do you?
No, I don't. I think that they actually have a good group in there. The sad thing is this team should be going to the playoffs.
It's really
There's
sad.
enough talent there.
Mike says our GM looked cooked up there. A guy who's not allowed to GM. We've seen that in this town. Musashi, no leftovers from Green Bay, please. Mike,
Who cares where they're from?
I
Just
agree.
get the best guys.
I agree. I totally agree. I mean, to me, I have no problem hiring a guy from Green Bay because they've been kicking our ass for 6 years.
Correct.
So why not? They have the book on
It's
us.
only one of the best organizations in sports.
Yep. You can't force Thomas
I don't
Brown
like
on a
them,
coach. You
but
can't.
it's true.
Agreed with Mike on this one. You can't force Thomas Brown on a coach. Either he gets the head job. I agree with that, Mike. The Bears have lost good coaches because of that in the past. Who will be the best coaching candidate for the Bears? I think that's a lengthy discussion about what you're looking for.
You got to do the interviews and you've got to do homework on these guys. Look, Ben Johnson checks a lot of boxes. I would prefer an existing head coach. But is Sean McVay going to leave the Rams? There's some talk about that.
I'm calling.
I am.
I'm calling.
What do you want for Sean McVay? Is Kyle Shanahan going to stick around if they rebuild San Francisco? Is he getting fired or are they trading his rights? I'm calling if he's available. There are a number of ways this thing could go. We got to let it play out.
We need a head coach to understand that Caleb Williams is the QB, 100%. Fix the defense. The defense it's more about the D line and the offensive line, Clyde. I think you're onto something there. But the next coach, and Ryan did say this. He didn't say a lot today, but the one thing he said was they need to know that a young quarterback is the face of this franchise going forward. And if their plan has to include that. Brown's 3 points have been fix the offensive line, fix the offensive line, and fix the offensive line. Brown discussing the dysfunction in the locker room is also informative. We knew it, but now since it's been confirmed, what the heck will Brown being head coach fix with a dysfunctional locker room? I don't think it's dysfunction, as we just said, just in the locker room. It's more about the frustration and infuriation of how they were losing games that they felt they should have won.
I don't think the locker room is dysfunctional. I think you had a dysfunctional head coach who took no accountability for his mistakes, and these guys go, we're not here that long.
Yeah.
We play in the NFL. It's very fleeting. We had a chance with this team. Mercedes Lewis said today to Tremaine Edmonds and to me, most talented team he's been on.
That's saying something.
4-8.
Guy's been on the team for 20 years. I'm going to call you A cool. If Warren says that Poles will have full decision-making and hire a QB, then let's let this play out. You know what? Cool. Not everyone's going to have the patience.
Hiring QB.
On hiring. I think he's talking about hiring a head coach. Hiring the coach.
And let's let this play out.
He's on to something there. Yes. And it's going to suck because we have this coaching change this early. So that's all we're going to talk about now from now until the end of the year. 1,000 people in here last Friday couldn't see any regulars. It was like January 1st at the gym. Everyone wants to get in shape, but where are they now? This channel, not for fair weather fans. Recap Lunch Hour.
Love it, Pablo. You're awesome, man.
Settle the matter with Arlington Heights. That's a whole nother. This thing needs to get fixed sooner than later. They talked about putting a shovel in the ground in 2025. What's up, Eli? Poles look like a beaten down dog. We've talked about that for sure. Let's be honest. Nick says Poles probably wanted to fire Flus last year and George wouldn't let him.
That's
to
true.
me, it's Ben Johnson or Vrabel. Nick, right now, that's where I think the two of us also reside, Ben Johnson or Vrabel. Vrabel's going to have to come with a pretty damn good offensive plan.
Like, what if I said to you, and I hear Vrabel can be a real blankety blank to deal with? That's from players who have played for him. What if I said to you, Vrabel said, I'm coming in and I got Josh McDaniels as my OC.
You are so hooked on this Josh McDaniels.
I'm not saying I would do it. I'm asking. Josh McDaniels.
Speaking of Dick.
He was an outstanding OC with Tom Brady.
He was.
He's never getting another bite at the head coaching apple, so he's not leaving. That's my point.
I don't know. When's the last young quarterback he's developed? Sorry, we only have a few more minutes to do this show.
Was he not there with first year of Mac Jones, who was up for Rookie of the Year? Played really well.
He might have been. I have to look that up, but sure. I'll give you a half point for the Mac Jones era. Don't forget the Houston game. Any offensive help, we win that game. I think that's a stretch, KD. I think that's a stretch.
You did have the ball in your hands to go down the field to win it, but it's week 2 of a rookie quarterback.
There's the head coach, not the QB. Jake, why was Poles so awkward answering the question about Shane Waldron? and then cut off afterwards.
Because it was an Eberflus hire, and he did not want Cliff Kingsbury. Eberflus.
Yeah, and
That's a fact.
Did you hear the follow-up question from Colleen Kane before she was told no more questions? It was specifically about Trace Armstrong. That I would have liked to hear, but that question did not. It got nixed. I don't think the question itself got nixed. They had said one more prior to her first question. Her follow-up had to do with Trace Armstrong. Did not get answered. So interesting there. Warren said the polls will have full decision-making, but let's see what happens. Yep, a couple more here. Broski Bear, a friend of the program, former quarterback, former Bear winning coach, wherever he coaches now, we'll stick with Eberflus. Exactly. I mean, he's gone, guys, so we can no longer talk about Eberflus anymore. It's all about what happens from here. Any sources that are naming off all these head coach lists, I promise you the Bears will not hire anyone that is popular or makes too much sense, hence how we hired Eberflus. Matt,
Fair.
it's very fair. And I saw it on who's the guy from Good Morning Football that I'm completely blanking on right now? Kyle Brandt tweeted about 2 hours ago. Expect this to get weird and he gives a really good history lessons on here's how the Bears have gotten weird in the past.
Yeah, from Dave McGinnis. Like when they got Wani, who I love, Dave Wannstedt. When they got Wannstedt, that was like the guy that year in the cycle, and they got him to replace Ditka. And we know how it ended. It didn't work out. Was an old team. He took over, and that was that. And they gave him personnel and head coaching responsibilities. It's too much for any man to handle by himself. And then they hired Dave McGinnis, the press conference. I'm hosting it on the home of the Bears.
This is a great story.
And they're like, okay, let me take you behind the radio world. You're on delay so that if you call in and swear, I've got 7 seconds to hit a button and your curse words never get on the air. Well, when we take a press conference or a game, we take that live. And so we get off of delay. So they said, okay, you're off delay. And you'll hear like a little pause. Boom. Welcome back. David Kaplan here at WGN Radio. We're awaiting the Dave McGinnis press conference. We had the press release literally sitting there. Bears named Dave McGinnis. Dave McGinnis shows up at Halas. The late Michael McCaskey, then chairman of the board, he says to Dave's like, hey, you have the contract terms for my assistants here. They haven't seen the contracts because they have agents. He said, just tell them that they're 5-year or 4-year deals. When actuality, they were 1-year deals. He didn't want to guarantee beyond a year. Mike McCaskey and McGinnis went, no, I'm not going to lie to my staff. Are you crazy? He said, well, I'm not guaranteeing all these guys 4-year deals. And Dave McGinnis packed his stuff up and went, see you later. Took
back
balls.
To the airport.
First time head coach. And he said, I'm out. He got in a car and left. Glenn Kozlowski, one of my dearest friends, played for the Bears. Well, he can walk around the building in places that the media can't, even though he was working with me at WGN. He calls the station. He says, tell Cap I have to talk to him. They said, he's on the air. We're off delay. There's no commercials we're running. He said, well, stick a promo in there, like a public service announcement. Tell him I need 60 seconds. I run out of there. I'm like, what's up? He's like, report this. Dave McGinnis literally just got in his car and left in his rental. He's headed to O'Hare. He turned the job down. What? I come on and say this and all hell breaks loose. And of course, it's true. He turned it down. And then on a Saturday night, I'm driving down Michigan Avenue with my then first wife. Now I'm married to my last wife. This is it. And my wife and I have the radio on, and I hear, I think it was Andy Mazer at WGN coming on going, we just were told, this is like 11 at night, the Bears have hired Dick Duran. Who? Mm-hmm. Dick Duran. Really nice guy, quality human, but just an okay coach.
Yeah. And again, we get like, that's probably you got me thinking long form feature type to go back 25 years and tell that story
right here on the channel, buddy.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
We get Dave McGinnis to sit down with us.
Yep. And other people who were in the room, we get Kaz. We look at a real life behind how the sausage is made.
Right here on a mini doc.
Live on YouTube. A couple more here. We're getting out of here. Jess says, hoping Brown is on ESPN 1000 with you and Jay Hood on Monday. Disappointing he wasn't on. Hey,
so was I.
The Bears, it was probably the right call, though, Jess, in actuality, to not put the Thomas Brown in front of Cap and Jay Hood prior to the GM and president making public comments. They didn't do a lot of things right over the last 4 days. that's probably one they did. They should have just never promised you him on Monday in the first place. So there's dysfunction within the function sometimes, and we go from there. Yeah, Kaz is definitely the man. We're old. Cap McGinnis was almost 26 years ago. Yeah, well, but here's the problem, Vince, and this will be our last comment of the day.
Nothing's changed.
It's the same old recycle, dude. We've been repeating it our entire lives.
The cycle of suck.
The cycle of suck. So anyway, wanted to bring the recap lunch hour to you. Glad we did. We had a couple hundred of you on the entire time. Cap, Guff. It was more like the recap afternoon coffee pick-me-up.
The coffee break.
The coffee break.
Recap coffee break.
The recap coffee break. We may have to bring that to a studio near you soon. Correct. But we will keep on keeping on with regularity this week. We'll get back to our normally scheduled lunch hour time slots. For Cap, I'm Guff. This is the recap lunch hour. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take that.